it's exciting. I think everyone's kind of not sure what to expect from Chelsea. It's in a bit of a, we don't know. You're on a seesaw. Which way is it going to go? Because you've lost a main man, Hazard, and watching Chelsea a lot last year. I hate to say it was a one-man show, but when you lose such a big player, you make up with it with your team. So you might have lost Hazard now. So now let's see what the Chelsea team is all about. You're going to all have to pull in and grab goals left, right, and centre. And I think that's quite exciting. And the transfer ban, that's had an impact as well. He can't really bring in players, but then Chelsea have got such a pool of players from the loan system and all over that they've got such an array of youth. And I think with Frank Lampard, he's keen to invest in that. He's rotated a lot of players in the pre-season. He's given everyone a lot of chances, a lot of minutes. He has said he does know his team. Even though he's a week away, he said he does know his starting 11, which will be interesting to see. But I think he's got a lot of good young players, and I think that's exciting. He's giving them chance. And I don't think Kante will be fit. I think there's some issues about him for that game. But there is a bit of worry. They've conceded a lot of goals in the pre-season. I think they've conceded 11, although they've scored a lot. So I think that was always my worry last year defensively, how they held up. So it would be interesting to see how they move forward this season. But it's weird. I don't know what to expect. And it's his first big season at Chelsea. He's Mr. Chelsea. I hope he does well. I really do. And I hope Chelsea do well. But, it's a great way to start his campaign.
You would hope that he's going to get time because of his standing at Chelsea. And would he have got this job after being a manager for one season if it weren't for the transfer ban? I mean, you've got to give it to Maurizio Sarri. Chelsea managers tend to have a very short shelf life, don't they? 1, 2 years, maybe 3 maximum, and then you're out the door and the next one comes in. It hasn't stopped the silverware flowing into the trophy cabinet, has it? Maurizio Sarri did this remarkable thing, which was hugely unpopular in certain quarters with the style of football, massively criticised in the press. Well, then by the end of it, he was almost fine. He almost walked out of the League Cup final, didn't he? And I remember being at the press conference after that, and he was having to kind of defend himself. Was he going to drop Kepa for the next game against Spurs? He did that for one game, thought he handled it brilliantly, and we all moved on. By the end of the season, they're in the Champions League again. They've got to a League Cup final, and they win the Europa League. So, and he gets to walk out on his own terms. Extraordinary. Fair play to him. So then where do they go? They know they've got this transfer ban for the next 2 windows. A manager of huge repute perhaps is not going to, you can't see Mourinho going back for a third spell working under those conditions. And the way he's left as well in the Man United 2-2 draw when he's holding up the 3, it sort of left a sour taste. So they had to go for somebody that perhaps wasn't in their top 3 or 4 choices. But there's Frank Lampard, club legend, who's had a terrific season at Derby. And you think, if you're Lampard, well, if I don't take it now and say with the financial restraints at Derby County, I finished 7th or 8th, then suddenly my stock isn't as high as it was getting them into the playoffs and to within 1 game of the Premier League. So the timing is like the perfect storm has led Frank Lampard back to Chelsea. And if I was a Chelsea fan, you'd be disappointed, obviously, with the way that the transfer window and the transfer ban has come about. But I'd be excited. I'm actually excited to see how he gets on and how this young team gets on. And if he gets Kante back in a role that he's more familiar with, except apart from that role that Sarri had, which was a bit further forward, which wasn't his game, you've still got the likes of Kovacic and Jorginho, who are class players. And then you've got this sort of young English hub of attacking players. It's a huge season for Ross Barkley. This could be the one where he's entrusted, right, you get out there, and Lampard has said, I want you further forward. I want you getting beyond defences. I want you shooting. I want you scoring goals. So he knows what a midfielder is. Christian Pulisic, and we've got our eye on him at NBC because if he goes big, that's fantastic for our viewing figures. Hudson-Odoi, when he comes back, a Mason Mount. You've got this young Chelsea side brimming with talent where the manager's not going to be fired at Christmas if they're 6th or 7th. And I think it's quite exciting. Now, are they going to be the dominant team that they have been, in the last 15 years? Probably not. But it's going to be very interesting to watch it. And I think the Chelsea fans will be behind the project.
I think you make a really good point about the energy around the place. The Europa League final, if you were in the Surrey press conference, it felt draining just being there. You could see that the life had been drained out of the guy, and you could argue whose fault it is between the fans or between him and his coaching staff or the players. But he had a style that he was going to stick to, come rain or shine. He was going to play with an anchor midfielder and try and get some pace out wide, and then play with a central striker. And I think when you've got one of, if not the best central defensive midfielder in the world in N'Golo Kante, and then you try and teach him to be something else, you're not making it easy for yourself. So that would be the first thing that I would want to see. As soon as Kante's fit again, get Kante in that position where he's just anchoring the midfield and doing what we know he's world class at. And then let people like Ross Barkley and Loftus-Cheek when he's fit again, and Hudson-Odoi when he's fit again, be free to then go and play. And at least you've got some knowledge, you've got some security behind you. I know there's obviously issues as well in the centre-back position. And I suppose that's one area that, had they not had the transfer ban, they would have been desperate to bring some sort of cover into as well.
I just think it's going to be fun if you're a Chelsea fan, in that have we not arrived now, Karen, in a sort of era where fans do value excitement and enjoyment above almost anything else? I don't think Chelsea fans want to see a team play in an uninspiring way, even if it means winning a trophy. If their pre-season results are anything to go by, they might not win every game next season. Who knows, they might not get in the Champions League. They will be good fun to follow as a fan.
Well, from being at Chelsea, though, Chelsea win. And it's look at their last 10, 12 years, they produce trophies. And being a player there, it's about winning. It's a Chelsea Football Club, it's about winning. So part of me is like, the fan goes, God, I want to see them exciting, the youth, Frank Lampard bringing it. And then the other part of me is like, wow, this is Chelsea. What we do is we win. So there's a fine line with that. But going back to the Ross Barkley thing, I think what will be helpful with Ross and what Frank will bring is, unnecessary last year, I saw Ross's confidence just absolutely go because he was the 60-minute man, wasn't he? And as a player, if you know at 60 minutes you're going to be brought off at every game, it is literally demoralising. And I think under Frank Lampard, if you're playing well, he'll give you the confidence. He's a midfield maestro himself. I think he will educate Ross Barkley to really push on, because everyone's always talked about Ross, this player, and we were just waiting for him to explode. I actually agree with you, Arlo. I think this is his season. And going back to the transfer ban, another huge advantage that Chelsea have is Jody Morris. He's been at that football club for ages, since however long. And what he did was he worked with the youth. So he knows every young player. You know, that's why they got Mason Mount from Chelsea at Derby last year when he was there. And look what he produced. And he's flying in pre-season now for Chelsea. He's doing absolutely marvellous. So I think having Jody Morris there as well to bring with the ban, you're going to have to put your young players in there, and I think Jody will be really key in that. And really, he's Mr. Chelsea as well, so they've got that passion and that heart and desire. And I don't think they'll be under pressure. I'd hate to think that Frank would be under pressure. I think he would have known going into it he had to take the job because, like you said, it comes up and you'd be silly not to take it. But I'd like to think that he would be given the time, at least 2 seasons, given the ban and given the circumstances he's got to build something and to really kick on. Because you look at Klopp, you look at Pep, they've all been there for 3 seasons plus. So give Frank Lampard the time, and I think the fans will be able to give him that because he is Mr. Chelsea.
Who would you start up front?
Who would have started up front?
Because Tammy Abraham is there, isn't he, and available, and he falls into that young English bracket. But then you've got the much maligned Olivier Giroud, who never really seems to let anyone down, scores plenty of goals. If you had to pick a striker, and it looks like he's going to go 4-2-3-1, doesn't it, in the early part of the season, which one of those two do you think would get the nod? Again,
it depends on the way you want to play. If you want a hold-up player, then in Giroud, you've got that. But then if you want to go the pace and the turning, you go with Tammy. I thought Giroud was superb last season. I really did. He was reliable, he was consistent, and I thought he brought a lot of the best out of a lot of other players. And like you said, he's that little bit experienced, and probably could I see him starting against United just because of that? Maybe. But then with Frank Lampard, you've seen that he wants the youth, he wants the pace. I could see it's difficult. I really don't know. I'm going to sit on the fence with that. I have no idea. I'm going to be the worst person ever and say I have no idea.
You can sit, or you like that did get me thinking what you're saying though about Olivier Giroud. Have Chelsea got something that a lot of the other top clubs don't have, which is a number 9 who isn't going to be starting week in, week out, but will be not only content to be in that position, but also thrive in that position. Liverpool don't have that. I mean, Divock Origi isn't an Olivier Giroud. You could argue maybe City do with Gabriel Jesus, but in terms of those top teams challenging for a Premier League title, Chelsea might have an edge there.
I think he's the best plan B in the Prem, like far and away.
That's a great way to put it.
He's without doubt.
Bless him.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's never, even at Arsenal, he never seemed to cement 5 or 6 games where he would start every game, play 90 minutes, and even get an eye for goal. And yet he still used to come up with the goods all the time. And he did it again in Europa League final. You know, he comes on and it comes into the team and it absolutely flew. The thing with Giroud is that you know exactly what you're going to get. And he will get chances wherever, like whenever he chooses to bring him into the team, he will get chances. The thing for me is just whether in Tammy Abraham you've got someone who's clinical enough to lead the line for Chelsea. Obviously, you get the pace, but are you going to get the efficiency in front of goal that Chelsea fans will be used to? I thought it was so accurate what Karen said in that Chelsea fans expect to win. And it'll be so fascinating to watch how long they give Frank Lampard just before you start to see those like mutterings in the crowd like, oh, do you remember when we used to win games if he has a bad run? You know, I think he gets a free swing of the bat because it's his first year in charge. He'll be bringing through lots of youth and that'll get a lot of energy and optimism about the place. But come Christmas time, I think it'd be really interesting to see where they are and see whether people are still as optimistic as they are now at the beginning of the season.